Hello and welcome to this video for Social Emotional Learning and Education, written and created by Maria Munoz, that is myself, for the SEL 610 course. Let's start with a quote from Collaborative for Academic Social and Emotional Learning, also known as CASEL. Social and emotional learning is the process through which children and adults acquire and effectively apply the knowledge, attitudes, and skills necessary to understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. This is the arching goal for social emotional learning. What is the research and importance of SEL? According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, one out of every six, ages 2 through 8, have been diagnosed with a mental or behavioral disorder. Research also demonstrates that social emotional learning has a positive impact in mental health variables, physiological or psychological, which results in the child's positive attachment to school, motivation to learn, and reduce behavior problems. There's a need to address the different intersectionalities the students are bringing to the classroom, despite their gender, socioeconomic status. We need to be able to address those needs, and SEL is the right way to go. Overview and purpose. In this video, educators will be provided with research-based strategies and resources to promote and teach identifying feelings, practice empathy, address self-regulation of feelings and emotions, and develop executive functioning. Strategies shown are geared towards elementary age children. However, they may be modified to meet any student's developmental needs. We're going to start by discussing a strategy for identifying feelings. I selected the mood meter. If you can name it, you can tame it. This is a quote from Dr. Brackett, who is currently at the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. His model builds upon the circumplex model of affect, which states that there are two variables to identify feelings. They are energy levels and pleasantness levels. Dr. Brackett observed that people either are not in touch with themselves or they lack emotional vocabulary. He identified a need to help people develop the ability to explicitly identify feelings. He developed a tool named the mood meter to assist in identification of emotions. Here's a very short film on YouTube from the Yale Center of Emotional Intelligence that explains the mood meter a little bit better. So, when can students use the mood meter? It can be to identify their feelings from the characters in the literature, or feelings of their family members and friends. First, they identify their level of energy. Is it high or is it low? Second, they identify their level of pleasantness. Is it low or is it high? Third, they choose a color quadrant. So where we matched both of our variables, we're going to last select a word, a very specific word, because we want children to discern the nuances in between the different emotions. They're going to choose a specific word from their quadrant to express how they are feeling. So the mood meter is a powerful tool that we can use to identify our feelings. Now let's look at a strategy for practicing empathy. It is to teach perspective. One of the best ways to develop empathy with students is by bringing awareness to what others may be thinking or feeling. Teaching point of view and others' perspectives will help students navigate through relationships and respond appropriately to situations. We want to be able to address how our friends are feeling, our family members, our colleagues, our peers. Teaching perspectives can be done through video discussion, role playing, and by comparing literature. I love to start the year with this short film. The title is Ian. It is an animated short film. It is found in YouTube. Ian is this child who was born with cerebral palsy. His mother created the foundation to fight against the lack of information and knowledge They wanted to send the main message of inclusion. So the way I would use this film, I would play a little bit of it, and I would pause at critical moments because children, especially young children, don't pick up the small clues. For example, here I can point out his face. His face looks worried. I know that sometimes I have this face when I'm worried about being late to somewhere. And I noticed that his hand was shaking, so he's trying to hold the hand that's shaking. Then we would want to make connections. Have you seen anybody that has to do this? Then I would continue and also look at the reactions and faces of the other children. We want to practice this as much as we can. So here they look curious, they look concerned. Can we all make this face? When do we do this face? When we're at home, and children have the opportunity to discuss. So video discussions, you watch the short film, discuss how the characters are feeling, and really important, how did the children identify that feeling? Were they looking at the characters' faces, their body language? And we want to be able to make a plan for ourselves and what choices are we going to make if we see another Ian in our school. Are we going to laugh and giggle like some of the children did in this video, or are we going to offer our friendship, ask them how they're doing, ask them if they need help? Also, role playing, you can use a script or scenarios. For example, a new boy sits at your table at lunch. He says that kids at the other table said, "Don't sit here anymore." What would you do? And then we can go ahead and take responses from children, or they can talk to each other, draw a picture. We want to use events from our classroom. So this is what I would really do. If I see a scenario where best friends are arguing over something somebody said or not taking turns or a game not being fair, I would use that scenario during our circle time, and no names. Of course, don't use the students' names. And then other children can provide different ways to solve this problem. So they would learn from their peers different possible ways to solve it. Okay, strategy for self regulation. I chose breathing exercises. Research shows that they are very powerful, they're aligned with mindfulness. One of my favorite ones is the 5 finger breathing. Here's a quick video that we're not going to watch, but it's definitely a resource that you can use in your classroom. Self regulation in children is key for academic and emotional success. According to the National Center for Pyramid Model Innovations, children who learn to manage their emotions are less impulsive, have an easier time making friends, and handle disappointment better. So, what better way for them to carry on their school day is, if not, is self-regulating. They will be successful as children and as adults. So one of my favorite strategies is called 5 finger breathing. We can try this right now. You put your hand up. You trace your hand with your finger. As you're moving up, you breathe in. And as you're moving down, you're tracing down, you breathe out from your belly. And we do this for every finger. We trace up, we breathe in. And then we trace down, push out from your belly. So we would do this for all 5 fingers. You can also provide a visual. A lot of us use the smell the flowers, blow the candles. This helps them with making deeper breaths. A strategy for executive functioning. For me, schedules. Schedules are very powerful. Executive functioning is the group of complex mental processes and cognitive abilities, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. These skills and abilities need to be taught explicitly to children. So it's the cognitive abilities and skills for memory, flexible thinking, and self-control. One strategy to assist in development of executive function is the use of schedules. Schedules help students with organization and decision making. Students can be provided with daily schedules, weekly schedules, or schedules related to tasks and events. Task analysis, very important. It can also be a checkoff list. Similar to routines, schedules help students feel safe and lower their anxiety levels by providing predictability. Here are some examples of the schedules I used this last year during our long distance learning. We had asynchronous day. I provided the time and a visual. We also did a little bit of homeschooling and also for groups. Something that I learned, do not assume that children can read the schedule no matter how cute the pictures are. Make sure you explicitly teach this is your name. You go down, this is Miss Munoz, this is the time you see Miss Munoz. Afterwards, you do your reading practice. So we must explicitly teach children how to read their schedules. Here is a quote from Sega Briggs. Learning is not purely behavioral, it is a cognitive process that takes place in a social context. So, the social context can have a definite contingent effect in the children's ability to learn. Okay, so why don't we have a strategy for SEL that addresses all of the I apologize, we have links. Addresses all of the 5 competencies. Dr. Brackett and his colleagues at the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence developed a systematic approach for development and enhancement of emotional skills. The acronym used for their approach is for their system is RULER. It stands for R, recognize, U, understand, L, label, E, express, and R, regulate. The Teacher in Exile TPT store also provided some posters with a little bit more graphics. The Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence does provide training for schools and districts, or you can be creative. So R for recognize, notice how you're feeling, and we can look for it in our body. We can decide our energy level, our pleasantness using the mood meter. U is for understand, why am I feeling this way? L, label, we want to discern and choose the explicit vocabulary that describes our emotions. E, express your feelings. And R, regulate. Do I want to stay feeling this way or do I want to change it? And what strategies do I have? Make a plan and execute. In conclusion, integrating SEL into children's education is the right choice. SEL addresses the cultural, physiological, and emotional barriers students possess that interfere with learning. By explicitly teaching children self awareness, self regulation, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision making, they will acquire the skills and tools to be successful in their academic and personal lives. SEL makes education inclusive, equitable, and attainable for children despite of their intersectionalities. I want to end this with a quote by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. So I invite you to use these resources starting your first day of school. They are very easy to use and have a great school year.